general manager of the Salt River Project told the House Environmental Affairs Committee today, it seems when there's no water in the salt, it's a river, and when it's wet, it's a flood.
Well, the salt has been wet a lot in these past 11 months, and the Environmental Affairs Committee discussed a bill this afternoon which would make irrigation districts, such as the Salt River Project, responsible for flood control. That would mean forcing the project to keep the level of water behind its dams low. SRP's Feaster says that wouldn't work.
If we don't use that storage to store water when we have it, then the valley's liable to run out.
A citizens group against the Central Arizona Project says SRP should keep its reservoirs partially empty. Feaster says that just isn't practical.
Our facilities were not designed for flood control, that we do utilize the available storage to shave the peaks off of the floods when we have them, but that the solution is going to require more extensive flood control facilities on the Salt and Verde River.
For the long term, he says, we need more dam capacity and channelization of the riverbeds. This bill is only one being considered on flood control, one of many in the legislature. Roger Gadley, Cool News 10, the state capital.
Gasoline retailers have been living with federal price guidelines since 1973. But in 6 years, the rules that determine the legal price of a gallon of gasoline are still very confusing to consumers. Today, the rules are even more misunderstood because suddenly retailers are being allowed substantial price increases. So to clear up all the confusion, the Department of Energy's Economic Regulatory Administration, the feds who hunt for price gougers, are changing the rules.
We've had calls from consumers and they just don't understand why one station is at $1.10 and we say, well, that's legal, and another station's at 85 and we say that's legal. They don't understand that.
The most significant change in the rules is that the banking practice used by gasoline retailers will be prohibited. That is when a retailer holds back on product cost increases during periods of adequate supply, then during shortages he can raise his prices to recover banked amounts. The new rules will allow a retailer a maximum gross margin of 15.4 cents a gallon.
The old regulations allowed them to take that incremental difference and pass that on at some future time. And so we really had a hard time, well, it was impossible for us to tell if a price was within compliance with the law without actually going in and auditing. Now, all they'd have to do is call up a refinery, ask what they're selling for, add on that 15.4, and if it's above that amount, that individual is in an illegal posture.
The new rules, the Department of Energy officials say, would make it easier for a consumer to determine just what the price of a gallon of gasoline should be. However, you would still have to know what the wholesale price is, the price that the retailer paid to the refinery. Knowing the wholesale price of a gallon of gasoline, let's say it's 68 cents, all you would have to do then is add taxes, 12 cents, and the dealer margin, 15.4 cents, to determine the maximum selling price. The 15.4 cents figure will apply to most gasoline retailers, unless the governor approves a variation. The rule changes do not apply to company or refinery-owned stations. The DOE says it is still reviewing its regulations on them. The new gasoline pricing rules are optional for retailers up until August 1st. Then they will become mandatory. Mike Era, Cool News 10.
Car salesmen don't like to say they're having trouble selling their big cars. Instead, they like to say their lots are well stocked, their inventory's high. But any way you look at it, the sales of big cars seems to be down in the valley, and it seems to be directly related to gas prices.
Has that affected your car sales?
Well, it has as far as the big line cars go, but as far as our little cars, you know, that's what the public's looking for right now.
We're not really stuck with any, you know, like we were in 73. In 73, you know, all the big cars were sitting. You know, now, you know, sales has dropped off on the big car, but I couldn't say that one particular large car is not selling.
Most dealers who sell big American cars say the situation was worse last month, but has gotten better. Right after the Arab oil embargo in 1973, the bottom seemed to drop right out of the big car market. Although things have slowed lately, dealers say the situation just isn't the same as it was 6 years ago.
It's nowhere near like it was in 73. I think people just don't believe that there's the shortages like they did in 73. You know, it's kind of, this is the second time around, and, you know, people just don't go for the same old stuff twice.
Every dealer we talked to that had a small car line told us small cars are their #1 seller right now. But there are dealers that just don't have a small car line to speak of. Cadillac, for example. This salesman told us almost reverentially there is something special about people who buy his cars.
There's no worry here about the Cadillac because people are in a class by themselves when they buy the Cadillac, see?
So you haven't noticed a drop-off in sales?
Well, there's been a little confusion, but then that's only a temporary thing.
If the big car market has softened, as one dealer put it, the small car market seems to be going the other way.
Well, our business is very good. We can't get enough cars. Our selection is very poor at the present time, but the Toyota business is fantastic.
But even small car dealers aren't without problems on trade-ins of American cars.
We are having trouble wholesaling them because the dealers are not bidding as high as they should. They're losing probably, according to Wall Street Journal, $200 or $300 a week in depreciation.
The result, according to Fan, is that he sells most of his cars without taking a trade-in, particularly if it's a big American car.
But car salesmen seem always to be an optimistic bunch. One sales manager told us he doesn't care if things are slow right now, because sooner or later those people that are holding back will have to buy cars. And when they do, he's ready. Roger Gadley, Cool News 10.
People who work with retailers in the downtown area say there's more confidence being shown in that area. But because of space limitations, not all small retailers who would like to move into the downtown area can do so. One realtor, Judy Butterworth, says there is as much as 20,000 square feet potentially available to retailers in the downtown area, but much of it must be renovated. And she maintains customers are there for the retailers to service.
They're to service the 25,000 plus people that work down there, and I'm talking McDowell, railroad tracks, 7th Avenue, 7th Street. They're talking to the government employees. More than that, though, they're talking to about 300,000 hotel guests a year. And that's now. In 1981, the bookings, the hotel bookings, are really starting to flow. And that's when you're going to see some really strong retail down there as far as profitability is concerned.
J.J. Justin's is a small retail antique and gift shop which opened recently in a downtown hotel. Linda Brock, the store owner, says she's seen downtown hit bottom and then start back up.
Oh, I think it's improving, definitely. Being born here, I, in fact, was born in the old St. Joseph's Hospital, which was over by Phoenix Union, just a few blocks from here, screen porches on the top and all. I see it as revitalizing lately. It went way down, and it was just a place to work, and that was it. But I really think it has to be more than that with the convention center over there, which is really a gorgeous facility, and drawing more and more people to conventions, and just more and more people working downtown. I see it as up and coming.
There is, however, one X factor lurking in the background if downtown is to be a successful retail area. What about parking?
It's pretty gross. We have a fair amount of lots around here, but a lot of things people come for, and we do find more people, even from Mason Tempe, coming into the store, which kind of surprised me, but it's working out fine. It would be very nice if we had something than 1 hour meters outside. I think 2 hour, at least someone can come in for lunch and browse a little, or have some more reasonably priced lot.
Whatever the success of retail establishments in the downtown area, the parking problem is going to have to be solved before that success can be guaranteed. Tom Collier, Cool News 10.
Tourism, the state's 5th largest industry, and one which Arizona businessmen count on receiving millions of dollars from each year. Today, an ASU researcher said that industry showed a strong third quarter, bringing in almost $100 million more this year than last, an increase of over 10%. But that may not be as great as it sounds, because the rate of inflation has also exceeded 10% during that same 3-month period. The ASU quarterly report also says rising gasoline prices appear to be keeping more cars off the state's highways.
It appears that the price and the availability of gasoline have had a negative effect upon tourism in the state. It's a possibility that some of the tourists who did not drive into the state, and there was a 9.6% decrease in tourism by auto, may have flown into the state instead. There was a 34% increase in the airfare. So there might have been switching, but we can't really tell from the data if that happened or not.
The report shows nearly 71,000 Arizonans now rely on the tourist industry directly for their livelihood. As for what the future holds, well, Brennan Stool says that's hard to say. But he says in the past, the tourist industry has actually experienced an increase during a recession. Bob Mosley, Cool News 10.
These dogs are not your typical German Shepherds you can walk into a pet store and buy. They've undergone 3 months and $5,000 worth of extensive training to become the friends, companions, protectors, and eyes of the blind. These dogs are trained by Eric Renner, a native German who came to America 25 years ago. He started up a training school then in California, and through his work, many blind people have been given independence and mobility. Training these dogs is timely and requires infinite patience. Renner takes it upon himself to teach his dogs to be as responsible and responsive as human beings. They learn to know all the things that pose a threat to the blind. Fire, smoke, open manholes in the street, hanging tree limbs that could frighten someone who is without sight. Traffic, of course, is something the dogs are very careful about, stopping at curbs to warn the blind to step. They know the difference between bathroom, bedroom, and kitchen just by the sound of the word. They live every moment at the side of their master, becoming more than just a guide dog.
All of a sudden you're free and you feel like I feel like just skipping and running down the sidewalk because it's a very exciting, kind of an exhilarating feeling.
Gene Motley is another one of the 4 persons now being taught by Renner to work with his guide dog. He went blind only a year ago as a result of diabetes, and until now he has walked with a cane.
Where I live is a small town. It's rough terrain. You walk with your head down because you have to with that cane, or I did.
How do you feel now with a guide dog?
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm scared. I can see the potentials that's open before me.
Sophisticated machinery to help the blind like radar and sonar are available now, but Renner and his friends don't believe they will ever replace the guide dog.
In every blind person's life, there are moments when you're when you feel lonely, when you're very outside, you know. And when you reach down and you feel that cold nose, you know, that's an assurance like you wouldn't believe it. Not even a person can substitute for the friendship and the love and the devotion of these guide dogs.
Lisa Allen, Cool News 10.